What's up, guys? Pittsburgh Weiss Schwartz back again with another Rush Rundown. This time we're going to talk about Bunny Girl in the English competitive metagame. This will be a quick, concise overview of Bunny Girl's strengths, weaknesses, and notable cards that you will need to know in order to effectively play into it, all in 10 minutes or less. While these videos aren't meant to be totally comprehensive, we've included a lot of information in this video about Bunny Girl, so feel free to pause if we're moving too fast. Alright, let's get into it. So Bunny Girl is a set that relies heavily on the one copy of the standby climax that it plays in order to get as much value as it possibly can with its extremely powerful level 2 and level 3 cards. The level 2 and level 3 cards that it plays also work toward its game plan of walling you out, elongating the game to its advantage in order to eventually grind out a win against you. The only time you need to be concerned about your board being reversed is against the standby build, which is the most popular build that you'll expect to see. The level 1 Kaide combo sits only at 5500 combos with standby, doesn't get power off that. It's a on-reverse hand plus combo. Additionally, the Futaba level 3 standby target, which has great performance, is able to ping every time it gets a reverse. Speaking of the level 3 Futaba, this card is arguably the centerpiece, the most powerful card that Bunny Girl will use against you that you'll need to watch out for if you're playing against it in any sort of competitive capacity. This card sits at 12,500 power on its own if it's in the middle position of their center stage. Also gets great performance if the Bunny Girl player is at level 3 or higher. The card, when it scores a reverse, the Bunny Girl player is able to pay 1 stock, discard a card from their hand to ping you 1 damage. This is especially important because since the card gets great performance at level 3, all attacks on your board against it are considered frontal attacks into this card, allowing this card to potentially ping you 3 times during any given attack phase. So definitely keep an eye on the number of cards that are in your opponent's hand and the number of stock that they have in order to gauge your opponent's ability to deal damage to you. The only real way to deal with this card, if it gets too huge, they have back row cards that can pump it up to absurd power, is to either overpower it yourself if you are able to do that, or to bounce it back to the Bunny Girl player's hand. So in addition to this extremely powerful great performance level 3 that they can stand by out at level 2, is this heal package that Bunny Girl runs. They run a number of early play healer cards that allow them to extend their level 2 game for as long as they possibly can. They run a combination of this level 3 red Kaide card, which is a full field early play, heals to waiting room on play, and potentially refunds them a stock as well, in combination with this Shoko, which is a 2 or less in climax waiting room early play that also heals to waiting room. Bunny Girl runs an absurd number of early play healers that allow them to stick around at level 2 for as long as they possibly can, build as much stock as they possibly can, compress, and make it very difficult for you to kill them in the end game. The next package of cards here is a package that you will see only occasionally playing against Bunny Girl, more often than not. All Bunny Girl decks will run this level 0 Mai on the far left-hand side, as it's one of the few hand ditch outputs that Bunny Girl has at their disposal. The level 0 also has the secondary effect of putting this level 3 into memory. This whole package works by repeatedly pulling the level 3 out of memory once it's in there, burning a certain amount, potentially firing off the climax combo for 1 damage, and then when it's frontal attacked, it pops back into memory, preventing you from scoring any sort of reverse on it, and potentially cycling the effect the next turn again with the sock to back row card. The finisher of choice for most Bunny Girl decks, however, is this level 3 Notica. She on play allows the Bunny Girl player to draw a card, discard a card, and choose one of your characters to bounce back to your hand. So be aware if you're playing anything that is holding any sort of cross-turn ability or power, like a Neg Soul Wall or something of that nature. In addition to that, this card's climax combo works right into Bunny Girl's game plan by allowing the Bunny Girl player to decompress you while sitting at their extremely powerful board and clock state thanks to their healers, as well as their compressed deck state. When combined with its climax combo, allows the Bunny Girl player to potentially thin your deck of climaxes, and then attack for larger amounts of damage due to the fact that it was able to open up lanes with its bounce effect. So definitely be aware of the fact that Bunny Girl is able to bounce your threats off the board and potentially thin climaxes off the top of your deck. The last big threat card to talk about here in Bunny Girl is this level 3 Koga. This card is a standby target by all definitions, frontal 2k assists, that also, if you happen to play it from hand later on in the game, you can discard a card from your hand and heal the top card of your clock to your stock, essentially playing this card for only 1 stock. As if that wasn't good enough, the Bunny Girl player is also able to pay 5 stock if both players are level 3 or higher and heal both players by 4. furthering their very grindy, elongated game plan. And since the Bunny Girl deck is likely better prepared for a long grindy game than you are, they really don't care how much they have to heal you in order to keep themselves alive, as they will most likely survive any number of further turns that you get to attack into them. Counters to be aware of in Bunny Girl. They do have an anti-change counter. It's a Ditch 2 waiting room anti-change. Most decks don't play it, but definitely keep an eye out for it if your opponent may be running it. Some decks play the 3500 power Futaba counter here, or the 2k Shoko counter, in order to protect their standby targets to the best of their ability. But more often than not, you'll only see a few of these per deck. The last thing to be aware of if your opponent is playing a more Mai or Notica-centric deck, there is this 2-1 event counter that allows your opponent to search their deck for 2 Notica or Mai cards. This allows your opponent to both filter their hand and thin their deck during your attack step. Common builds of Bunny Girl. The vast majority of the time you can expect to see the build on the left here, the Kaede standby into the Notica gate at level 3. Talked about those combos earlier in the video. Although occasionally you will see somebody run some other combo at level 1, whether that be the Koga level 1 combos with Book, which does also require a reverse and allows itself and another character to bounce back to hand when the Koga is front attacked, or the regular Minami Mai hidden behind the Koga there that combos with Wind. More often than not, you'll see the standby so that Bunny Girl can push their advantage as hard as they can, as early as they can, and combo into the Notica there to decompress you for the win. So in conclusion here, Bunny Girl is not easily level lockable. They do have the ability to put cards into their clock. They do have an on-reverse Ricky. Not many builds run it, but they do have other cards that they do run sometimes that allow them to add cards from their hand to their clock. As far as bombs, anti-change counters that you'll need to worry about, most Bunny Girl decks don't run them. If they do, it'll be that Ditch 2 anti-change that I talked about in the other slide. The most popular build, as I just mentioned, is the Standby Door deck. Bunny Girl values the 1 standby that they are able to run very highly, due to the fact that it allows them to put out all of their very powerful level 3s as early as possible to push their advantage and keep themselves alive. Like I just said, they value their standby climax. They also value the heal package that I talked about. For the same reasons, this allows them to loop heals as frequently as possible, keep themselves at the bottom of level 2 for as long as possible, and drag the game out to their advantage. The set is strong at heal looping, keeping themselves alive, extending the game for as long as they can. They do crutch on the 1 standby that they have in their deck. Unfortunately, they can't run 8 of them. They pull out the very powerful back row Koga and the front row Futaba and try to wall off the game and wall you out from doing anything past level 2 or level 3. Unfortunately, the set, as I mentioned, is weak at reliably triggering standby since they only have access to the 1, and they don't have a lot of mill tools. They do crutch on the level 0 Mai Rize for hand filter since it's one of the few options that they do have. In a regional or competitive environment, you can expect to see Bunny Girl some amount of the time. The set is pretty popular, but the set itself, the cards were short printed and is now fairly expensive. So it is a little bit more difficult for people to get their hands on. So I wouldn't expect to see it super often. But that's it for Bunny Girl. If you liked this video, be sure to drop us a like or a comment. Let us know how we did. It really helps us out. We will be releasing more Rush Rundowns every Wednesday, along with our usual deck techs on every other Friday. Along with these links that we drop at the end of all of our videos, we'll also link some sample deck lists for Bunny Girl below in the description if you'd like a more in-depth example of what you can expect to run up against in a shop challenge or regional environment. But with that, I think we're done. Pittsburgh White Schwartz signing off. We'll see you in the next video.